Hello everyone and welcome to Creature Archives. This is Survive, Adapt, Evolve, the series where we explore how creatures from both real life and fantasy might fare in entirely different worlds. Today we're traveling a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away to the frozen planet of Hoth, where we'll be transporting the iconic duo and undisputed rulers of Ark's survival snow biome, Ark's Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus. To answer whether this unlikely symbiotic pair could survive here, we'll be evaluating them across 4 key categories: habitat adaptability, dietary compatibility, competition and predation, and reproductive success. Each will be rated out of 10, leading to a final survival score. And because we've never tackled more than one species in a single episode, we'll be doing things a bit differently. At the end of each section, we'll rate each species individually, and then both of them together, based on how their partnership helps make up for each other's weaknesses. And stick around after this because we'll also explore how these two might change and evolve over time to better fit into this alien world. Before we go any further, let's take a closer look at these two species. Despite sharing the same genus names as their real-life counterparts, make no mistake, Ark's Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus are entirely different species with some extreme differences. First off, like many creatures in Ark, both Yutyrannus savus and Carnotaurus pressor are much larger than their real-life equivalents. Ark's Yutyrannus is actually significantly bigger than a real-life T-Rex, reaching lengths of roughly 18 meters and weighing around 20 tons. Ark's Carno, while smaller than the Yuty, is still far larger than a real Carnotaurus, reaching around 12 meters in length and weighing around 8 tons. In addition to their massive size, Ark's Yutyrannus is a powerful leader, able to strike fear into the hearts of smaller opponents and inspire allies to fight harder with its mighty roar. Thanks to this leadership behavior, the species has developed a mutualistic relationship with Ark's Carnos. In the wild, Yutyrannus are most commonly found accompanied by small packs of around 3 Carnos, where they seamlessly hunt alongside one another. While Ark's Carnos don't possess the same intimidating presence as the Yuty, they are still deadly predators in their own right. They're relatively fast for creatures of their size, able to run down all but the speediest animals on the island, and those iconic horns on their head aren't just for show. They're used not only in intraspecific combat with other Carnos, but also as weapons for hunting. When a Carno headbutts prey, its horns can stab and tear into flesh, causing significant bleeding. And once empowered by the Yuty's courage roar, Carnos become even more lethal. Hoth is one of the most hostile worlds in the Star Wars galaxy. Temperatures can plummet to a bone-chilling negative 60 degrees Celsius or negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit. The entire surface is a windswept ice desert, broken up only by pockets of volcanic activity. These geothermal hotspots melt out massive underground caverns beneath the ice, still very cold, but warm enough for some wildlife to shelter in. And while most of the planet is barren, there are a few mountainous regions where hardy shrubs, mosses, and even conifer-like trees cling to life. Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus would likely be drawn to these rare vegetated pockets for shelter and prey opportunities, but they're few and far between, meaning neither species could rely on them as a primary habitat. Now, at first glance, dropping a pair of dinosaurs onto this planet sounds like a death sentence. Even most warm-blooded mammals would struggle to survive here. But remember, these are Ark dinosaurs. Yutyrannus savus and Carnotaurus pressor hail from the various arks orbiting an element-ravaged Earth, and despite looking prehistoric, they are far from ordinary animals. As strange as it sounds, Ark's Yutyrannus and Carno actually endure temperatures similar to, or even colder than Hoth. On the island, the snow biome typically sits around 0 degrees Celsius, but in rare cases, temperatures can drop to as low as negative 60 degrees Celsius. And while non-canon maps like Ragnarok aren't officially part of the lore, they still illustrate just how cold of temperatures these two can tolerate, with Ragnarok's murder snow dropping to as low as negative 80 degrees Celsius. Whether you think Ragnarok numbers should count or not is completely up to you, but regardless of this, even if we just use the island as reference, both species are explicitly shown enduring temperatures on par with Hoth's. Now of course, Ark is a video game, so some mechanics need to be taken with a healthy pinch of salt. Technically, any Ark creature can survive any temperature, because that's just how the game functions. But that kind of defeats the spirit of these being biological creatures, which is why typically on this channel, I try to primarily draw from what we know about these creatures from the Ark dossiers. And in this case, the lore actually backs up the hardiness of these creatures. Helena Walker frequently notes biological inconsistencies, like a T-Rex trudging through the snow to hunt mammoths in freezing conditions that it probably shouldn't be able to withstand. But there is an explanation for this. These creatures were cloned, modified, and genetically engineered by the Overseer, and many of them behave in ways no real organism could. So, for this analysis, I'm completely comfortable assuming that the Yutyrannus is perfectly capable of handling Hoth-level cold. Carnos, on the other hand, are a bit of a harder pill to swallow, because, well, look at them. They're not exactly built for Arctic survival. But the dossiers confirm that they frequently hunt alongside Yutyrannus and live in the same biome their entire lives. So, the most reasonable assumption is that Carnos aren't quite as cold tolerant as Yuties, but survive by taking shelter during the worst freezes, or even by huddling together or using the Yutyrannus' thick plumage for warmth. On Hoth, they would likely be reliant on taking shelter in the giant geothermal tunnels beneath the ice during storms or cold snaps. But temperature is only half the story. What about terrain? Unlike the island snow biome, which has plentiful forest, hills, and plenty of cover, most of Hoth is just flat open tundra. Shelter would mainly come from underground caverns and the few sparse conifer forest valleys. Yutyrannus especially might struggle to find places large enough to fully conceal itself. However, many of Hoth's tunnels are vast enough to comfortably contain large animals. So while it would be an adjustment, it wouldn't necessarily be a major obstacle. This scores the Yutyrannus a habitat adaptability rating of 8 out of 10. Ark's Yuty is built to endure extreme temperatures like Hoth. Its thick insulation, engineered physiology, and tolerance for temperatures equal to or even colder than Hoth give it a major edge. However, the planet's lack of substantial cover would definitely be an adjustment, forcing it to rely on open terrain and underground caverns more than it's used to. For the Carnotaurus, this gives it a habitat adaptability rating of 5 out of 10. Carnos simply aren't as cold adapted as their feathery counterparts. They can survive in the same harsh biomes as the Yutyrannus on the Arcs, but likely only with help. The cold of Hoth wouldn't be an immediate death sentence, but without the help of their large fluffy friend, they would likely be stuck taking shelter near geothermal vents in the caverns. And together, this earns the duo a combined habitat adaptability rating of 7 out of 10. Their symbiotic relationship provides meaningful advantages on Hoth. The Yutyrannus' large, fluffy, well-insulated body and cooperative nature would help keep the Carnos warm during extreme cold snaps, while the Carnos' smaller size would allow them to explore tighter tunnels and locate shelter that the Yuty might otherwise miss. However, this partnership can only compensate for the Carnos' vulnerabilities so much. At first glance, Hoth looks completely void of life, a frozen wasteland with nothing for two giant predators to eat. But much like the temperature situation, there's more going on beneath the surface, literally. The geothermal tunnels under the ice support an entire hidden ecosystem, with several species moving between the caverns and the surface. So, while food is limited, it isn't non-existent. For Ark's Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus, tauntauns would appear to be the most plentiful prey source, if it wasn't for one major problem. Tauntauns can run up to 90 kilometers per hour or 56 miles per hour. That kind of speed makes them incredibly hard for either dinosaur to reliably catch. Yutyrannus are far too large to sneak up on a herd, and Carnos, while relatively fast, aren't nearly fast enough to overtake a sprinting tauntaun. The Yuty's fear roar doesn't help much either. It would just scatter the herd even faster. With careful coordination, the roar might be able to be used to panic tauntauns into an ambush set by the Carnos, but this would be circumstantial at best. A far more dependable food source would be ice trompers, giant four-legged herd animals similar to massive musk oxen. Adults can weigh around 3 tons, making them ideal prey for these large theropods. A Yutyrannus could easily bring one down, and while a Carno would have a slightly tougher time, it could still manage. Working together, the pair would make quick work of an ice tromper herd. Additional prey options include Hoth hogs, ice scrabblers, and possibly even wampas. Wampas are formidable predators in their own right, with claws, strength, and small clan structures, but compared to a Carnotaurus, or especially a Yutyrannus, they would be heavily outmatched. Either dinosaur could likely take down a wampa without much trouble. Even so, the overall food situation on Hoth is rough. The planet has very limited plant life, which means the herbivore population is naturally low. A massive carnivore like Yutyrannus would struggle to get enough calories, not because they can't kill the prey, but because there simply isn't enough available. Carnos, meanwhile, are much better suited to Hoth's carrying capacity. They're large, but not quite too large, and could hunt ice trompers without collapsing the population. But a full 20-ton Yutyrannus would put serious strain on the ecosystem. This scores the Yutyrannus a dietary compatibility rating of 4 out of 10. While it can overpower anything on Hoth, the planet simply doesn't have enough biomass to sustain a predator this large for long. Its size and massive energy demands work against it, making reliable long-term feeding nearly impossible. The Carnotaurus scores a 7 out of 10. Carnos actually fit into Hoth's food web pretty well. They're fast enough and big enough to consistently bring down ice trompers and other medium-sized prey without wiping out local populations. And while tauntauns are still difficult to catch, unlike Yutyrannus, Carnotaurus at least have a chance of being able to catch them off guard from time to time. And together, they score a dietary compatibility rating of 5 out of 10. Normally, this duo is terrifyingly effective. Working together, they might occasionally corner prey, using the Yutyrannus' size and roar to herd animals towards the Carnos, but these successes would be rare. On Hoth, in terms of hunting prey, the Yutyrannus is more of a burden than a benefit. Its huge energy requirements and total lack of stealth drag down the overall efficiency of the pair. The Carnos could manage just fine on their own, but trying to keep a Yutyrannus fed in Hoth's nutrient-poor environment severely undercuts the partnership's overall viability. In terms of competition and predation, Hoth is surprisingly sparse. Wampas are generally considered the apex predators here, hunting tauntauns and any other prey they can manage. That said, as mentioned before, Wampas pose little real threat to a Carnotaurus or Yutyrannus. A large group of Wampas might theoretically be able to ambush a lone Carno, but the effort would likely result in significant casualties and simply wouldn't be worth it. And against Yutyrannus, Wampas wouldn't stand a chance. Even if a Wampa did try to attack a Yutyrannus, Wampas would almost certainly be driven off by its fear-inducing roar. Given this, while Wampas aren't much of a concern in terms of predation, they would act as the primary competition. They are well adapted to Hoth and are more knowledgeable about hunting local prey. However, their efforts are mostly directed towards smaller targets like tauntauns, which as discussed earlier, would be rarely caught by Yutyrannus or Carnotaurus anyway. And even if Wampas do successfully hunt a tauntaun or ice tromper, unless they quickly stash the kill in a small cave, Yutyrannus and Carnos could easily steal it. Outside of Wampas, tauntauns are omnivorous and do hunt smaller prey. However, most of the prey they hunt is beneath the notice of Carnos and Yutyrannus anyways, and tauntauns are primarily herbivorous, eating lichen and moss, so they wouldn't offer much in terms of competition. So overall, it's looking like Yutyrannus and Carnos would completely dominate the competition on Hoth. And while this is largely true, there is one big exception, the enormous dragon slugs that live beneath Hoth's surface. These massive armored gastropods can reach up to 20 meters in length and are capable of breathing fire. Nothing else on Hoth rivals them in size or aggression. Yutyrannus and Carnos would have little natural defense against a dragon slug's fire, but if they could close the distance, the sheer strength of a Yutyrannus, aided by a pack of loyal Carnos, could deal serious damage. That said, as awesome as a battle between these species would be to see, direct conflict would likely be rare. Dragon slugs tend to remain in their underground layers, farming fungi and producing the rare, highly sought-after luminous spice, which indirectly gives them their massive size and armored skin to begin with. And while highly aggressive, the dragon slug's lifestyle keeps them largely separate from the hunting grounds of Yutyrannus and Carnos, meaning encounters and competition would be infrequent. Because of this, both Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus individually score a 9 out of 10 for competition and predation. Yutyrannus dominates nearly all other predators on Hoth. Its massive size, strength, and fear-inducing roar give it an overwhelming advantage, leaving little else in the ecosystem capable of challenging it. The only significant threat comes from the rare dragon slug, but otherwise it faces no serious competition. Carnotaurus are also highly effective predators. Even on their own, they can outcompete most of Hoth's wildlife. Dragon slugs remain a potential danger, but these would be extremely rare encounters, and Carnos could outrun one with relative ease. Together, this duo is essentially unstoppable, earning a competition and predation rating of 10 out of 10. This pair can dominate the entirety of Hoth's ecosystem, and if necessary, could likely even take down a dragon slug. Their combination of size, coordination, and complementary hunting strategies would put them at the top of this planet's predatory hierarchy. Reproduction on Hoth would certainly be challenging, but ARK species come with a distinct advantage. They reproduce and grow much faster than their real-life counterparts. Egg incubation periods are shorter, and juveniles reach adulthood at an accelerated rate. This rapid development is especially important on Hoth, where extreme cold and scarce food sources could easily wipe out a slower-growing population. If a clutch of eggs or a group of hatchlings were lost to the elements, these species' fast reproductive rate would allow them to bounce back relatively quickly, minimizing the long-term impact on the population. Carnotaurus in particular are known for their high reproductive output, likely being able to produce multiple clutches over a single breeding season. On a world as harsh as Hoth, this is a major advantage, helping offset losses from cold snaps or predation. However, Carno eggs would still be extremely vulnerable if the species was nesting alone. With no insulating feathers, limited body fat, and a narrow torso, Carnotaurus isn't built well for brooding in sub-zero temperatures. Without the protection of geothermal vents or assistance from their warmer partner, most Carno eggs would freeze long before hatching. Yutyrannus, though larger and less prolific than Carnos, benefits from the same accelerated ARK growth rate. But crucially, it has the insulation and bulk needed to brood eggs effectively. A Yutyrannus parent could keep its own clutch warm with minimal effort, and when paired with Carnotaurus, could dramatically increase Carno hatchling survival as well. Another crucial factor is this duo's cooperation. On Hoth, surface conditions are extreme, but underground geothermal tunnels offer a safe haven. Both Yutyrannus and Carnos would likely use these tunnels to brood eggs near geothermal vents, keeping them warm and shielded from the harshest temperatures. And because Yutyrannus can provide insulation that Carnos lack, their cooperative nesting behavior would dramatically increase Carno reproductive success, allowing the pair to defend nests, guard hatchlings, and even warm each other's eggs. This scores the Yutyrannus a reproductive success rating of 8 out of 10. Yuties are highly cold adapted, and their size, insulation, and parental care make them excellent at brooding eggs and protecting juveniles. While the lack of forest cover and food availability would be a challenge, geothermal tunnels and cooperative behaviors ensure that most clutches survive and hatchlings reach maturity. And their accelerated art growth rate would further boost the odds of successful reproduction. The Carnotaurus scores a reproductive success rating of 4 out of 10. Carnos would face serious challenges raising young on their own. Without insulating feathers or sufficient body mass, their eggs are highly vulnerable to freezing, and juveniles require extra protection. High reproductive output helps mitigate some of these losses, but without the warmth and assistance of a Yutyrannus, many hatchlings would not survive Hoth's extreme cold. Together, they achieve a reproductive success rating of 9 out of 10. This pairing is highly effective. Yutyrannus provide warmth and protection for eggs and juveniles, while Carnotaurus contributes numbers and additional nest defense, as well as being able to better catch smaller prey to feed juveniles. Their cooperative nesting behavior and strategic use of geothermal vents would dramatically increase hatchling survival, making the duo far more successful than either species could manage alone. And with that, the Yutyrannus scores a Survive Adapt Evolve score of 7.25 out of 10. Yuties are highly resilient predators with excellent cold weather adaptations, strong insulation, and cooperative behaviors that help protect eggs and juveniles. They dominate the competition and can take down large prey like ice trompers. However, their massive energy requirements and limited stealth would make long-term survival on the sparse surface challenging. The Carnotaurus scores a Survive Adapt Evolve score of 6.25 out of 10. Carnos are smaller and more energy efficient, allowing them to hunt medium-sized prey like ice trompers without drastically impacting the ecosystem. However, they would struggle with the extreme cold on their own, especially when brooding eggs or protecting juveniles. Shelter and cooperation with other Yutyrannus would be essential for their survival, and together they achieve a Survive Adapt Evolve score of 7.75 out of 10. As a pair, the Yutyrannus and Carnotaurus complement each other well. The Yuty provides warmth, protection, and size, while the Carno contributes additional hunting ability and nest defense. Cooperative behavior, shared use of geothermal tunnels, and complementary strengths make this duo far more capable of surviving Hoth's harsh environment together than either could alone. Before we dive into the speculative evolutions, I want to, as always, give a shout out to this channel's amazing artist, Delta Reaper 54. Most of the creature art you see on this channel, including the art of the speculative evolutions you're about to see, were created by him. So, if you enjoy his art, be sure to check out more of his work. His info is in the description below. The cold, windswept plains of Hoth, with temperatures plunging below -60°C and scarce pockets of prey, is one of the harshest environments in the galaxy. Survival here required more than brute strength. Faced with dwindling prey and harsh conditions, some Yutyrannus realized that the key to long-term survival was not just hunting skill, but managing the food sources they could reliably control. Over time, Yutyrannus effectively domesticated some Carnotaurus, guiding them into cooperative herding and breeding behaviors that transformed the Carnos into a stable, managed food source. This process gave rise to two entirely new species, Paleocustos mantilorum, the frost shepherd, and Pecurorus nivosus, the snow cattle. In this system, the frost shepherd leads herds of snow cattle across the tundra and through geothermal tunnel networks, using its massive insulating mantle of feathers to keep the herd warm. It moves them between lichen-rich feeding areas and defends them from predators. Meanwhile, the snow cattle have evolved into compact, semi-domesticated omnivores, storing fat and producing near-daily eggs. The frost shepherd is smaller than its arch ancestors, measuring roughly 10 to 12 meters long and standing around 4 meters at the hip. Its arms are elongated, draped in dense layered mantle feathers, forming natural brood pouches and thermal shields for the herd, much like a musk ox's quivet or an emperor penguin's brood pouch. A 2-layer feather system provides insulation, an inner layer of ultrafine down retains heat, while the outer layers of coarse, oily guard feathers shed snow and moisture. Muscular yet agile, the frost shepherd can maneuver through geothermal tunnels, nudging and guiding the snow cattle with precision. Opportunistic carnivory supplements the frost shepherd's diet, taking down prey like tauntauns or ice trompers on occasion. But its primary nutrition comes from the snow cattle herd itself, mainly by consuming eggs, and occasionally by isolating an individual to be slaughtered for meat. Over time, the frost shepherd has developed an exceptional spatial memory, recalling not only the locations of geothermal tunnels and safe travel routes, but also areas where prey populations like snow cattle have historically been most abundant. This memory allows it to efficiently guide and manage the herd, maximizing food intake while minimizing risk for itself and maintaining overall herd cohesion. The snow cattle are likewise much smaller than Yutyrannus Carnotaurus, measuring about 4 to 6 meters long and around 2 meters at the hip, with a barrel-chested torso and thick subdermal fat stores. Their short, powerful legs prioritize stability over speed, allowing them to maintain footing on ice or snow-covered slopes. Juveniles imprint on frost shepherd vocalizations and mature rapidly, ensuring the herd remains sustainable despite the harsh climate and the occasional culling of the herd by the frost shepherd. The frost shepherd and snow cattle together represent a remarkable evolutionary outcome of necessity-created domestication. Faced with Hoth's brutal cold and scarce resources, these species developed a relationship that blurs the line between predator and livestock. Over generations, the frost shepherd learned to manage and protect the herd, while the snow cattle evolved traits that maximize survival under constant guidance. Some Carnotaurus, recognizing that there wasn't enough food to go around for both themselves and Yutyrannus, began to diverge over time, forming a self-sufficient species adapted to life as a solitary cold-weather predator. This gave rise to Gylocornis excavatus, more commonly known to the galaxy as the glacier scraper. Reaching roughly 7 to 8 meters in length and standing 2.5 meters at the hip, it has a broad, low-slung frame optimized for heat retention and stability on ice. Thick subdermal fat, filamentous protofeathers between the scales, and partial mineralization of cranial and horn structures provides insulation against Hoth's frigid environment, while short, sturdy arms with keratin pads act as stabilizers during digging or when throwing its body into snowbanks. The glacier scraper is a specialist predator, hunting prey hidden beneath snow, ice, or in dens. Its pressure-sensitive pads in its feet allow it to detect subtle vibrations from animals moving beneath the frozen surface. Once prey is located, it hammers its massive shovel-like horns into the snow, which amplifies its vibration detection and allows it to pinpoint even small movements. It then uses these horns to dig through snow or break through ice, reaching cornered prey and delivering piercing horn strikes or powerful bites. This combination of sensory precision and brute strength enables the glacier scraper to locate tauntauns trapped in dens, ice trompers cornered in valleys, Hoth hogs in burrows, and occasionally even wampas. During whiteout blizzards, when most other predators seek shelter, it actively hunts using its horn resonance, foot vibrations, and acute environmental awareness. Behaviorally, the glacier scraper is a solitary apex predator, highly territorial, and capable of fending off most other competitors in its range. Additionally, its excavation and snow-clearing behaviors unintentionally benefit other species by providing escape routes, aerating subglacial caves, and exposing algae and lichen for herbivores. Juveniles grow rapidly, insulated against the cold, and quickly develop the specialized morphology necessary for survival in Hoth's extreme environment. Despite its solitary and sometimes brutal lifestyle, the glacier scraper represents an elegant solution to Hoth's extreme challenges. By combining brute strength, specialized excavation tools, and advanced sensory adaptations, it has carved out a unique niche where it thrives where other predators struggle. Its presence has reshaped the tundra ecosystem, benefiting other species even as it dominates the frozen food chain. At some point in Hoth's deep past, large feathered predators mysteriously appeared in the planet's vast subterranean systems. It is unknown where they came from, but once established, these predators became locked in a brutal evolutionary arms race with dragon slugs, the original masters of Hoth's subterranean fungus ecosystems. To survive, the ancestral population rapidly adapted, not only to take advantage of these large geothermal microclimates, but to become the ultimate predator of the dragon slugs themselves. The result is Glaciovenator luminaris, commonly known as the cryomaw, one of the rarest and most terrifying predators in not only the outer rims, but in the entire galaxy. The cryomaw is colossal, reaching up to 22 meters in length, standing 5 meters at the hip, and weighing between 25 and 30 tons. Its elongated skull is reinforced with a battle axe-like crystalline growth on the top of its head, while the body is armored with thick crystalline plates, making it resistant to fire, blaster fire, and even lightsaber strikes. A dense mantle of protofeathers provides insulation and helps stabilize its massive frame across snow, ice, and geothermal terrain. To hunt effectively in Hoth's extreme conditions, the cryomaw developed an extraordinary adaptation. Its signature ability is cryo fog breath, which it produces through fermentation of lumnifungus in specialized throat pouches, and is exhaled as a supercooled mist at negative 80 degrees Celsius. This cloud slows and even can outright freeze prey solid. When hunting a dragon slug, the cryomaw uses its cryofog breath to coat the slug's massive body in a layer of supercooled ice, slowing its movements and making it more vulnerable. Once immobilized, the predator can strike decisively, using either its massive jaws to crush the slug, or by swinging its battle-axe-like cranial growth with devastating force to smash through the slug's armored segments. This combination of freezing and brute force allows the cryomaw to tackle prey far larger and more dangerous than would otherwise be feasible. Behaviorally, the cryomaw is a solitary apex predator, fiercely territorial around geothermal vent networks. Females invest heavily in reproduction, raising 1 to 3 young over multiple years. Glaciovenator luminaris, through its raw strength, immense size, and the unusual, almost mystical properties of the luminous spice it consumes, has become the most formidable predator Hoth has ever known. Yet, the story of this apex predator did not end in the frozen valleys and subterranean caverns of the planet. Its existence would soon intersect with the wider galaxy in ways that few could have anticipated, drawing the attention of the galaxy's leading world power, and setting the stage for conflicts and discoveries that would echo far beyond the ice-covered world it once ruled. After the Battle of Hoth, as the remnants of the Galactic Empire scoured the frozen wastelands for survivors of rebel technology, previously unknown predator emerged from the icy depths, what the Empire would later name the Cryomaw. An Imperial reconnaissance platoon investigating the wreckage was quickly overwhelmed. Reports described soldiers and droids frozen in place by the creature's supercooled cryofog breath, before being crushed or devoured. Blaster fire reportedly bounced harmlessly off its crystalline armor, while its sheer size and ferocity allowed it to dominate the battlefield with terrifying efficiency. Only a handful of survivors escaped to spread the tale of the predator that seemed almost impossible to kill. News of this unstoppable apex predator eventually reached the Emperor himself, who demanded that specimens be captured for study. The Empire's long history of weaponizing sentient and non-sentient creatures made the cryomaw an irresistible subject. Imperial scientists soon discovered that under controlled conditions, the species could be tamed. Juveniles, if provided warmth, consistent food, and repeated signal cues, displayed a form of imprinting, becoming obedient to handlers, a revelation that both delighted and shocked the Emperor. Further research revealed the key to maintaining the cryomaw's extraordinary cryofog and crystalline abilities, a steady supply of luminous spice. The Empire quickly located the fungal blooms, perfecting fermentation processes to sustain the species' remarkable powers. Upon genetic analysis of the species, scientists were confounded even further. The cryomaw's DNA bore no clear relation to any other known species in the galaxy, as if it had arrived from another universe entirely. Its combination of near-impervious armor, elemental control, and odd inclination towards domestication made it an unprecedented military asset. The Emperor's orders were absolute. The cryomaw was to be captured, cloned, and deployed as a living weapon. High-ranking generals began forming bonds with these creatures, riding them into battle across multiple campaigns. Their crystalline hides reflected blaster fire and even lightsaber strikes, making them uniquely suited to counter Jedi combatants. Entire battle strategies were adapted around their presence. The cryomaw became a symbol of Imperial might, an apex predator not only of Hoth, but of the galaxy itself. Time would only reveal how this new terrifying weapon would shape the balance of power and extend the Empire's iron grip across the stars. Thanks for watching this episode of Survive, Adapt, Evolve. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any future content. And if you want to further support the channel, consider becoming a YouTube member today. Not only will you help support me in making the best quality content I can, but you will also gain early access to videos, sneak peeks at upcoming videos, and access to the members-only section of the Creature Archives Discord. And a special thanks to all my current members. Your support helps me continue to make content like this. Until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you all in the next video.